coming in as a kickboxer is something that he hasn't seen before. He's dissected the sport of boxing. Still, I'll bring something to the table that you haven't seen before. And that's gonna be the difference, the biggest difference. And that's gonna be the reason why I'm gonna beat you.
We'll see.
100%.
Rico Verhoeven loses temper and flips table at Oleksandr Usyk during DAZN Faceoff. The Faceoff turns toxic as verbal shots fly back and forth, Usyk staying cold but cutting deep with replies. Rico suddenly snaps, shoves Usyk hard in the chest, and the room erupts. Security rushes in as the situation spirals out of control instantly. Rico Verhoeven says he is bringing something different to the table, but the atmosphere is already boiling. Usyk stays cold and unfazed, refusing to give him reaction. That silence triggers Rico's frustration, and he suddenly slams the table in anger, stepping forward aggressively as tension explodes and security prepares for a possible physical escalation.
Listen, we prepare this. Yes, it's another different style, but we have not more, but video. One fight, Rico in boxing fight, yeah. But we look kickboxing fights. But my team help me, my coach, my team prepare.
Oleksandr Usyk stays composed in the face-off, explaining his preparation and structured game plan against Rico Verhoeven kickboxing threat. The atmosphere is tense as Rico pushes the narrative of a different style, insisting he brings something the boxing world hasn't seen before. Faceoff edges toward chaos as officials keep both men separated, no escalation yet.
Beat you is because I'm bringing something different to the table that you haven't seen before. You've seen everything there is in the sport of boxing.
Frank Warren reacts to the incident with clear disappointment, stressing that moments like this damage the sport's image. He admits he didn't witness it live but acknowledges the fallout and the noise surrounding the confrontation. The emphasis is on responsibility, as he distances himself from the escalation while condemning how quickly things got out of hand. His statement underlines that boxing thrives on rivalry, but not uncontrolled scenes that cross professional boundaries.
More of it, that's for sure, and everybody wants to show some respect to each other, and let's see the fight where it should happen, in the ring on Saturday.
Eddie Hearn highlights the worrying signs behind the scenes, suggesting the situation is far beyond normal pre-fight tension. He questions the mental and emotional state of the fighter, pointing out how dangerous he still remains despite visible instability. The concern here is not just performance, but well-being, as even his team's silence raises questions. Hearn's tone reflects real unease, implying this is a fighter operating under serious pressure heading into chaos rather than control.
But he's going to be dangerous. Like, all the attributes that he has, they still exist, regardless of his mental state. But I see a kid in pain, you know? I've got to be honest with you, like, I don't see how people around him can be looking at his behaviour and being comfortable with it. And I don't think that...
Johnny Nelson calls out the line that's been crossed, explaining how boxing mind games are normal, but personal attacks go too far. He breaks down the fine boundary between promotion and disrespect, stressing that family should never be dragged into the build-up. His tone reflects experience from the fight game, where psychological warfare is expected, but he admits this level of provocation can backfire and force a reaction that changes everything inside the ring.
After the fight, he may apologise and say, look, I went too far, I shouldn't have said that. But he needed to get a response from Anthony Joshua and get him into a certain mindset.
Rico Verhoeven steps into the face-off with full confidence, presenting himself as a physical and stylistic challenge that Usyk hasn't fully solved yet. He emphasizes size, strength, and kickboxing unpredictability, suggesting this isn't a standard boxing puzzle. His words are calculated but firm, projecting belief that his attributes will disrupt Usyk's rhythm. The tension builds as he positions himself not just as an opponent, but as a completely different kind of problem in the ring.
Oleksandr, what he's done. He's wiped the floor with everybody. He's established himself at the top there. So now you look at him and you'll think financially, will he be in a better position than Tyson Fury? No, not in my opinion. Anthony Joshua? No, not in my opinion. The big money fights aren't out there for him, so he's got to do something. He's got to put himself in a position where he's got to win, because he's proved he's top draw. So in this fight here, I think it creates interest, intrigue. I'm quite sure there's a healthy pay packet at the end of it. This is now business.
Oleksandr Usyk responds calmly, showing zero signs of pressure despite the hype around the confrontation. He simplifies everything down to preparation and execution, refusing to be drawn into intimidation or mind games. His mindset is controlled and focused, treating the fight as routine work rather than chaos. This calm approach contrasts heavily with Rico's aggression, reinforcing Usyk's reputation as a fighter who thrives in silence while others try to create noise.
But I'm not interested in. I like Rico Verhoeven, sparred him, know him, nice fella, very good kickboxer, one of the best of all time, but he's not a boxer. If he wants to fight,
can he box?
Yeah, he can box. He's a very good boxer, but he shouldn't be boxing the best heavyweight in the world. If he wants to do it as an exhibition, go and do it. I'm not interested in Usyk Verhoeven, just for the simple fact.
Johnny Nelson breaks down the bigger picture around Usyk, highlighting how dominant he has been against elite competition and how he sits at the top of the sport. He shifts the focus toward business, explaining that despite legacy and dominance, the real question now is financial motivation and big-name opportunities. According to him, this fight is not just sport anymore, it's a business move designed to create intrigue, generate money, and keep Usyk in the spotlight of global heavyweight attention.
What I believe is that the puzzle of boxing, Oleksandr solves multiple times, too many times already, and I think this is a puzzle he hasn't solved yet. So I'm gonna bring kickboxing angles, bring a different type of puzzle, and like I said, I'm a big unit. I'm like 125 kilos, so this is something that he's.
Dave Allen delivers a blunt assessment of the matchup, praising Rico Verhoeven's kickboxing legacy but questioning his legitimacy as a pure boxer at the highest level. He argues that skill in one discipline doesn't automatically translate into competing with elite heavyweight boxers. In his view, the gap in experience makes this more of an exhibition than a competitive clash, and he strongly suggests that stepping into the ring with top-tier boxing opposition without full grounding in the sport creates a clear mismatch risk.
But he's going to be dangerous. Like, all the attributes that he has, they still exist, regardless of his mental state. But I see a kid in pain, you know? I've got to be honest with you, like, I don't see how people around him can be looking at his behaviour and being comfortable with it. And I don't think they are.
Rico Verhoeven confidently positions himself in the elite conversation, comparing his dominance in kickboxing to Usyk's reign in boxing. He expresses belief that this crossover clash represents the ultimate challenge, framing it as a legacy-defining opportunity. His mindset is ambitious and competitive, suggesting that defeating someone like Usyk would be the pinnacle achievement. The tone reflects confidence mixed with respect, but also a strong conviction that he belongs on the same elite level across combat sports.
Oleksandr Usyk is the Rico Verhoeven in boxing.
Yeah.
So like he's been dominating for so long and in such phenomenal fashion. So I was like, wow, if we could do this, that would be like the cherry on the cake.
Fabio Wardley offers a cautious but critical view, questioning whether the opponent is truly at the level expected for a heavyweight showdown of this magnitude. While he acknowledges Rico's reputation, he expresses uncertainty about the competitiveness of the matchup at elite boxing level. His perspective reflects concern for sporting credibility, suggesting that fights like this should involve proven top-level boxers. Still, he leaves room for proof inside the ring, implying performance will ultimately decide legitimacy.
Oleksandr Usyk steps in and will take on one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. I'm actually quite a big kickboxing fan, so I know quite a lot about him. I've watched a few of his fights over the years. They used to call him the Prince of Kickboxing, and then he elevated to the King of Kickboxing. I mean, he's a very, very, very good kickboxer who's got decent hands. I can't lie.
Paul Smith questions the fairness of the matchup, pointing out that Rico's limited boxing experience raises serious concerns about him being fast-tracked into a world title picture. He highlights the frustration of contenders waiting in line, suggesting this kind of crossover fight disrupts the natural order of the heavyweight division. While he acknowledges Usyk has earned the right to easier fights after dominating elite competition, he still argues that the belts and legitimacy should not be compromised for entertainment or commercial appeal.
A kickboxer for a long time and not really done much in boxing at all to warrant a shot at Oleksandr Usyk when there's a queue so big. And
Indeed.
You know what I mean? And that's the most important thing. The people who are sitting waiting for their shot in line are going to be fuming over this. Some would say, to counter that argument, Usyk's probably earned the right to have an easier.
Spencer Oliver strongly criticizes the idea of a one-fight boxer getting a direct shot at a world title, calling it a breakdown of sporting merit. He stresses that elite boxing is built on progression, not shortcuts, and questions the logic behind sanctioning such a high-stakes opportunity. In his view, allowing this fight undermines credibility and disrespects fighters who have worked through the rankings. The frustration is clear as he sees this as a dangerous precedent in professional boxing governance.
His own little space, and I can see how the monetization vehicle of this works. But Usyk wouldn't be doing this unless there's a reason for it. There must be a motivation behind it. It must be some form of derivative as to what happened between the various disciplines crossing over with Ngannou and...
Simon Jordan takes a more analytical angle, focusing on the business and promotional logic behind the matchup rather than just the sport. He suggests that this fight exists for a deeper commercial motivation, comparing it to previous crossover events that blurred combat sports boundaries. While not outright condemning it, he implies that financial incentives are driving decisions more than sporting merit. His tone reflects skepticism, hinting that entertainment value may be outweighing traditional boxing structure.
This kid's had one bout as a professional boxer. You go, so, you know, how can he jump the queue and box Oleksandr Usyk for the WBC title? To me, that doesn't make any sense at all, and I think it makes a mockery, again, of the WBC, allowing...
Peter Fury confirms mutual interest from both fighters, framing the matchup as something driven by two elite competitors willing to test themselves across disciplines. He presents it as a natural clash of ambition rather than controversy, suggesting that when both sides agree, the fight becomes inevitable rather than forced. His tone is calm and practical, focusing on the idea that top-level fighters don't need much persuasion when big opportunities and legacy-defining moments are on the table.
This is the real kickboxing king, a heavyweight undisputed champion that's reigned for 12 years plus, you know, at the top. So he's fought everybody. So now, you know, he's had every kind of challenge, you know, he's come through that, and with him being around me in boxing as well for so long, and knowing that he fancies it, and he's...
Aid Oladipo builds the aura around Rico Verhoeven by highlighting his rise through kickboxing, from dominance as a champion to becoming a global name in combat sports. He emphasizes Rico's pedigree and striking reputation, while also noting that he carries legitimate skill beyond just hype. His commentary reflects genuine respect for Rico's achievements, painting him as a dangerous and proven fighter stepping into unfamiliar but respected territory against one of boxing's elite champions.
I understand that he's kind of earned the right to do what you want, but I at least expected it to be some sort of active boxer, someone of some... Not to say I don't actually know much about Verhoeven in terms of a kickboxer, of what his quality level is, but what I'm saying is I expected it to be someone of a decent calibre of a professional boxer. But if it's not, then fine. Look, do your thing, do you, and hopefully he returns to actual professional boxing against some of the top elite.
Wade Plamins frames the fight as pure entertainment, acknowledging Usyk as the clear favourite but still keeping room for unpredictability in crossover fights. He points out that combat sports have shown surprises before, where underdogs have shaken expectations. His view is balanced between realism and excitement, treating the matchup more as a spectacle than a traditional title defense. He also notes that Usyk may have bigger priorities in the heavyweight division, adding context to why this fight exists.